We are the anchors of Queer News Tonight, and this evening we discuss the queer headlines. HOTspots magazine celebrates its 40th anniversary with a new issue honoring the Miss Florida pageant, Golden Girls on Stage, fitness tips, and much more. Grab your copy on Thursday.
Lover of Men documentary examines Abraham Lincoln's intimate relationship with men, highlighting homosocial bonds and modern misconceptions of the 19th century male friendships.
Sade to release Young Lion for her son Isaac on Transa, a trans awareness album featuring over 100 artists, out November 22nd.
Over 30 Republicans filed a Supreme Court brief opposing Tennessee's law banning transition care, citing parental rights and equal protection concerns.
Governor Walz defends LGBTQ rights at HRC Gala, criticizing GOP's stance on gun violence and praises Biden-Harris administration's pro-equality efforts.
Good evening. Welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ+ daily evening television news, broadcasting live and available on demand on your favorite streaming channels. We are proud to announce that YouTube has recognized Queer News Tonight, certified by analytics company vidIQ, that we now have more than 9.5 million views. More than 500,000 of you have watched this show in the last 60 days. Thank you. It is Tuesday, September 10th, 2024. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we are going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ evening news show. Whatever happens unique in queer news, you will see it and hear it.
HOTspots magazine, Happening Out Television Network, is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same model of PBS and NPR, but designed for the queer community. Our mission is to support the 11 pillars of our LGBTQ community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of lesbian, trans, Latino, Black, healthcare, seniors, students, faith, social justice, business, and queer culture. Help us support our community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ+ network nonprofit media companies in America, HOTspots magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
In 2024, our magazine is celebrating 40 years of the LGBTQ experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our missions to educate the queer and broader community.
Let's meet tonight's anchors at Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome back TriniDaddy. This artistic talent is a violinist and pianist with the Miami City Ballet and is the program director for the Seminole Theater Players in Homestead. TriniDaddy, you will be performing in the Arrival from Sweden, the Music of ABBA concert with the South Florida Symphony on September 14th. That's so soon. At the Broward Center for the Performing Arts. Tell me what's happening.
Well, if you like ABBA, you should come out to the Broward Center on Saturday. I believe it's at 7 p.m. and it's with the South Florida Symphony, so it's not just the band doing ABBA. It is like a whole big presentation, and I think it's the top cover band of ABBA music. They're from Sweden. It's going to be fantastic. I have eye surgery tomorrow, so I will be in a pirate patch and tails tuxedo. So just for that, you should come out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's welcome Corey Billions. Corey is a proud LGBTQ+ community member from West Palm Beach. He has served as a pharmacy technician for 10 years. Welcome back, Corey.
Hello, hello. How are you guys doing?
Oh, great. We're happy to have you back at the round table.
Happy to be here.
Let's welcome back Dr. Edward Summers. He is the executive director of Pride Lines Miami's LGBTQ+ Community Center. He served as a primary therapist and program director at Eye Care Treatment Center in West Palm Beach. He was also the founder and CEO of the New York-based nonprofit, The Thinkubator. Welcome, Dr. Summers. It's always good to see you at this table.
It's good to be here with you, of course, and everybody else.
Let's welcome anchor Dr. Bobby Huen. He is a certified civil and family mediator and a founder of BH Conflict Resolution Services. From Hong Kong and having grown up across the world, he can offer and does offer a queer global perspective on current events. Bobby, it's always a treat to have you at the table.
Thank you, Eric. Lovely to see. Lovely to be working with you today.
Yes, of course, as always, every week.
And of course, this is tonight's lead anchor, Eric Restivo. Eric is well known for DJing at some of the largest clubs in West Hollywood and has had residencies in LA, P-Town, NYC, and now Wilton Manors. He is the television host of the W Boys, focusing on LGBTQ love for entertainment, broadcast on Fridays and then on demand. Welcome, Eric.
Yes, thank you. And just quickly, I'm going to just plug Pride Fantasia is this Thursday. Matthew Darren presents. I'll be on the red carpet with HOTspots' own Faye Watt. And we'll be giving you guys all interviews right from there. So that is at the Manor at 6:30 p.m. We'll be there. For more information and tickets, go to MatthewDarren.com. We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for Tuesday, September 10th, 2024. First, this evening, let's queer up the worldview. Queer News Tonight will broadcast show from Munich's gay Oktoberfest, September 17th to the 26th. Queer News Tonight, the world's leading LGBTQ plus television news, is set to continue its groundbreaking European coverage with a 2-week broadcast starting on September 17th. After reporting from the Acropolis, Greek Isles, Ephesus, and Egypt's Great Pyramids last year, this year's standout feature is Munich's Gay Oktoberfest. There will be live coverage from the festival fairgrounds and some of the world's largest and most iconic beer halls. The journey will also include Bavaria fairy tale like Neuschwanstein's Castle, the inspiration for Cinderella's castle at Disney World, Austria's famous Sound of Music Mountain, the Italian Alps in Bolzano, and broadcasts from Liechtenstein and Switzerland. Don't miss 2 weeks of the lively, inclusive reporting from 5 countries in Central Europe. Next, let's queer up HOTspots magazine. New issue of HOTspots is on stands Thursday, and it celebrates 52 years of Miss Florida. HOTspots is celebrating 40 years with the new issue on stands Thursday. The magazine is part of HOTspots Happening Out, the largest nonprofit LGBTQ plus media group in America. The upcoming issue is a special edition celebrating the 52nd annual Miss Florida FI pageant, which will take place on October 6th and 7th, featuring famous names. If you want to know more about it, you have to grab the new issue of the magazine on Thursday. HOTspots Scott Holland has talked with Isa Jovovich, Brittany Moore, and Bobby Iman exclusively just for you. Not just this, the issue also has a special feature on Golden Girls, Thank You for Being a Friend, Honey, as it has hit the stage at Broward Center and will run through September 29th. Scott sat down with Vince Kelly, who plays Blanche, for this exclusive HOTspots interview, which is available only in the magazine. Don't forget to read Hot Bodies by Leo Harley to understand the 4 essential elements of fitness. The next guest of Kings We Love is none other than Mr. Florida ME 2024-25, Bobby Iman. This is a must read. Do you know La Puta Nota LPN After Hours is celebrating 12 years this coming Sunday, September 15th? Read all about it and more in the magazine. And, of course, you can read popular features like Deep Inside Hollywood by Romeo San Vicente and Out with Scott and What's Hot by Scott Holland. Grab your free copy of HOTspots magazine on stands Thursday, September 12th, or you might just miss out on all of the fun. Whew! Honey, I feel like I just read the whole magazine from start to finish.
You did.
Listen, I'll say it every time I get the honor of covering a HOTspots new issue on Stan's story. I am indecisive. Me and my husband never know where to go for dinner. We never know what's happening on the drive. You open that baby up, and it's all right there for you. Yeah. Love it. One-stop shop for everything queer. Thank you.
No, I love it, and I'm looking forward to reading the article about the 4 elements of fitness. I'm trying to get back fit after this summer. I had my son and my nephew here, and I didn't work out at all, so I'm looking forward to that. And then that La Punta, whatever that is.
Doesn't look like it. You know, I like it.
Oh man, no. I'm out of it. But then the La Punta, whatever that thing is, 12 years.
Puta, that's how we say it.
Thank you, Trini.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go there, but anyhow, that looks like fun. That looks like a good time, and it looks like my cup of tea. So looking forward to reading it. And so you better get your copy of it on this Thursday on the 12th.
Congratulations on 40 years. I feel like 40 more is needed. And there are always stories about different things in the community, like the Golden Girls story. I have to go there.
Queer print has gone through, I mean, just like every other print media, queer print has gone through a lot of turmoil in the last 20 years. You know, we've witnessed the shutter, I mean, even in Wilton itself, outside of HOTspots, we've gone through 7 different versions of the other magazine.
Right.
And I'm just happy that HOTspots is keeping it running and making sure that our community has a free magazine that, you know, points out the resources we can go to.
Yeah. And it covers a good range. They're in Palm Beach as well. Next, let's queer up politics. New documentary makes the case that Abraham Lincoln was gay. In the upcoming documentary, Lover of Men, The Untold History of Abraham Lincoln, director Sean Peterson delves into the long-standing speculation surrounding Lincoln's sexuality. The film examines Lincoln's intimate relationships with 4 men, including his close friend Joshua Speed. However, the film isn't just about sexual orientation, but explores homosocial bonds in the 19th century, when love between men was viewed differently than today. Peterson emphasizes we're not trying to make the case that Lincoln was an outlier. We're not even making the case that Lincoln was gay. We're making the case that Lincoln participated in behavior that was extraordinarily common at the time, end quote. Drawing from the years of Lincoln scholarship, the documentary portrays Lincoln's emotional connections as a significant part of his life, supported by letters and expert opinions. One historian, John Stouffer, noted, quote, very few scholars, especially Lincoln scholars, accept Lincoln as gay today. Why is that? If he was gay, it would explode their understanding of him, because he could not have then been the statesman that he was, end quote. The film features dramatized recreations and commentary from leading historians who point out the complexities of interpreting historical figures' private lives. Through this exploration of Lincoln's personal relationships, Lover of Men encourages viewers to reconsider the ways historical norms have shaped our understanding of iconic figures. At its core, the film aims to ignite conversation about love and intimacy between the constraints of modern labels.
He is considered a sacred figure by both Republicans and Democrats.
He led the nation through its greatest crisis.
He's on our currency. We build monuments to him.
He's the greatest president the United States has ever had.
Today, the big question that people are asking is, was Abraham Lincoln gay?
In the 19th century, for many men, their closest relationships were other men, and same for women.
Men would live with another man when they're single, and often did, and shared beds.
Lincoln probably slept in the same bed with men more than he did with women.
One of the things that fascinates scholars is his bedding down with Joshua Speed for 4 years.
There is love between those 2 men.
When you put together all of the evidence, it's really startling.
Lincoln has a type: dashing, daring.
We have this notion that if you have an attraction like that, boom, that's your orientation.
Sexuality through the mid-19th century was far more fluid.
But for someone who wanted a political career, it was mandatory that you have a wife.
Dear Speed, I shall be very lonesome without you. Yours forever, Lincoln.
What you have in the 19th century was very strict marriage culture. Get married, and then everything is possible.
Captain David Derrickson became friends with Lincoln while they were living here at the cottage.
There is a soldier here devoted to the president, and when Mrs. L is not home, sleeps with him. What stuff?
He was seen wearing the president's nightshirt.
If you want a smoking gun, here it is.
But then you see all these shifts to the end of the 19th century.
Freud was devastating to sexuality, defining very rigid categories.
And they're saying if a man loves another man, it's unnatural.
Homosexuality
is a mental illness.
It was not only wrong, it was punishable.
If Lincoln were to look down today, he would see the United States at a particularly fragile moment.
History is so important because it allows us to understand who we were, who we might become.
Lincoln's legacy is the insistence on equality. We have been in the house of power. If you can accept a queer Lincoln, you can accept queer people overall.
He should inspire us to achieve a true democracy for everyone.
I'm here for the documentary. I mean, Lincoln, some people are on the fence. I think it's doable. I mean, gay has not just been around from the 40s or the 50s. I feel like it's been around for eternity.
Well, homosexuality definitely existed long before civilization even began, but even the earliest cover. But the problem is that there's a built-in bias in scholarship, especially Western scholarship, to refuse to think of homosexuality as a cause. For example, in ancient Egypt, there's this set of graves for two men. They are supposed to be hairdressers for the royal court or something. It was very elaborately decorated, and they were buried together just like they would have been a couple. But, you know, the running joke in archaeology and anthropology is, oh, they're just very good friends.
They're different.
You know, they're just very good friends. I mean, when we look back in history with our own perspective, with our own cultural biases, we don't think of how things are perceived 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years ago, or as long as 200 years ago. Ancient Rome has homosexual.
The Roman bathhouses.
Yeah, more Roman bathhouses. The vocabulary, the vernacular at that time to understand what's happening.
Yeah. So, go ahead. So I was skeptical. You know, I just thought it was kind of a headline. You know, come watch our show. You know, we need some ratings. But I was interested, so I started reading a few of these letters. I started kind of seeing how many men he was sleeping in beds with and how many other men were in the room at the same time. Many of them were co-sleeping together. But my biggest question was, where was Mary? Where is your wife? So I'm like, maybe she died first. No, she didn't. She died well after. I think back on my own relationships, and I personally believe that sexuality is a spectrum. I don't think that everybody is like, or very few people are like totally straight, totally gay, right? So if they have these loving bonds that are going on, who's to say that a handy didn't happen or something like that? So I do think that there is probably some truth to it with the bonds that they have, that things would naturally happen. As far as the like societal norms and how common it was, I don't know. I have to read more about it because I feel like it's more common to sleep with your wife than it is to be sleeping with men as much as he was sleeping with men. So I'm not saying that he's gay, and neither is the person who put this documentary up, but it's just a really interesting look, and I really love the angle where they're going with it, which is if Lincoln, who is this beloved figure for both conservatives and liberals, it's like, okay, maybe he's going to help in some way his story break down some barriers and find some common ground.
Well, I mean, it's great. But I think what I would say is that, well, first of all, having a beard is not, I mean, but the definition of a woman who acts as your heterosexual mate, even though not either or both parties are gay or lesbian, is not unusual, and it wasn't invented in the 80s.
No,
so
way before.
And of course, when we think about even royals who had homosexual relationships, they are still obligated to turn out the heir and the spare, given that how infant mortality is and how population was much lower than now. I mean, if we choose not to have kids, the earth will not fall apart.
Right. But I think also like societal pressures, societal norms back then is that, you know, you like the documentary said, you like married, you know, a woman, you know, from a person from the opposite sex. And so I think that there was probably all types of relationships that existed, you know, between men and women, women and women, and 3 and 4 or 5 people together. Who knows, right? But society, you had to present as you had a certain persona that you had to present. And back then too, you had to protect your family's name. You know, we have to think about like what it was like back then. It wasn't like today where we have this social media and it's okay to be yourself and authentic. It was not okay back then.
Yeah, you
like
could talk
there were
to my
certain
father
norms and perceptions that you had to live up to, you know. And so I don't think it's a stretch. And one of the actually I know one of the persons that was interviewed in the video, Dr. Thomas Burrow, I'm going to ruin his name. He went to Cornell. He's a historian. And I remember him over 10 years ago talking about this over 10 years ago. And so I'm glad to see that his work is finally coming to fruition.
I just think it's funny that the documentary trailer that we just watched was like depicting those images in like such like a artistic way. Like they're just all like so happy. Like, you know, like it was, I can't imagine it was that comfortable.
No,
you know,
right.
I mean, but I agree with you. I beautifully said what you said, by the way. I'm more excited to watch from the angle of we're seeing it from more of a queer point of view. That's anytime that there's queer representation on my screen and I'm being educated more about history of possible queer people, I'm into it.
And I love that you think that that's way too loving for it to be a gay couple.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, wait. I was like, honey, that's not it.
And also, I do want to make the point that, I think we all have probably had some experiences in our life where we were with somebody who was straight and they explored and had a good time maybe by all, and it doesn't necessarily make them gay.
Right.
Yeah. It just means that they had an experience, and that's okay too. And I hopefully that's more of a little bit of a norm as well.
I'm not showing you my little black book.
Well, next, let's clear up entertainment. Sade's upcoming album to honor her trans son. Jazz pop legend Sade is releasing her first new song in 6 years. This new song, named Young Lion, is in honor of her son Isaac, who is a transgender man. The track will appear on Transa, a transgender awareness album out November 22nd. The compilation album, organized by the Red Hot organization, will feature trans and non-binary artists. Dust Reed, Red Hot's executive director, explained, quote, "We started talking about all the gifts that trans artists have been given to the world and wanted to create a Red Hot project that centered and celebrated those gifts," end quote. Reed emphasized that exploring one's gender could foster values like community, care, and healing for everyone. Sade last released music in 2018 for the films A Wrinkle in Time and Widows. Her son Isaac, who came out as trans in 2016, underwent gender confirmation surgery in 2019 and has publicly thanked his mother for her unwavering support. Transa features over 100 artists with 46 songs across 8 chapters. Contributors include Sam Smith, Andre 3000, and Wendy and Lisa, who perform a cover of Prince's I Would Die For You with Lauren Otter. So awesome. I don't know if it's Transa or Transa. I say Transa because it kind of sounds a little...
Sounds rich.
Yeah. I like a little Transa, you know?
Yeah.
So I was interested in doing a little dive about the kind of the trans contribution, but I ran a little short on time. But so what I did notice was Andre 3000 was on there, and she was talking about different maybe trans artists that would be featured, and I thought it was a little interesting that he is involved in it, because I remember him in the early 2000s saying, like, the worst thing you could call me is gay. So I don't know if he's evolved on that issue, or maybe there has been some change in that perspective. So I just thought that was a little interesting. I love that Sade is coming out with a new album, because she is just queen. I don't think anybody has ever filled that kind of spot in the music industry like she did. It's just kind of that smooth vocal. So I'm glad that it's going to be probably popping in the gay community and pumping through all of the different channels, and like kind of making her a little bit more relevant again. I'm sure she didn't go away. I'm sure you're still performing all over, but just a little bit more in the public eye. So
I'm sure Eric is going to have a remix.
Oh, of course. Of course.
And every famous DJ in every club would at some point.
She still lives in my external hard drive forever and ever. I think what's the most important for this takeaway for me is that every artist have different crowds who listen to them, right? There's different you know, I have a different group of people who listen to me than maybe another DJ like Diplo or something. You know, different tastes are a great thing, by the way. So when you are shedding light on loving your trans baby, no matter what, to the people who love to listen to your art and your music every single day, that might be an untapped crowd for, you know, may not know about trans equal rights, or just may need a little bit more of a push to kind of realize, oh, I need to vote this way for the, you know, better of people I love. That's what it is for me. It's like, Sade, do that damn thing. Use your platform to get everyone that you can aware of how fabulous the trans community is. So
no, I think it's amazing, and it's risque, right? As an artist, as anyone in public light, to you know, the trans issues are kind of challenging in some communities, and particularly somebody who's an entertainer or a star, you just never know how it's going to play out. You know, the people are going to support or not, and I think it's just very bold. And I think kudos to her, and like, you know, big up to her, and we all should support this work that she's doing. She needs us in our community to support this work, and I think it's pretty amazing.
I could appreciate her supporting her child. Any parent that loves their trans child or gay or homosexual, like, it's always appreciative, because there are not many that make it that far with their parents.
Well, I just know, like, my parents used to have her albums on repeat. So it's like, I remember when I first came out, my parents didn't give me an issue with it, but it just like took a second. So it's like, if there are people who are still with Sade and following and listening to her music now, there's most likely going to be someone who just needs that extra little, oh, this person that I've adored and admired for all these years in the music industry is on this side of this. Maybe that's a light bulb for me. So hopefully.
Next, let's queer up trans rights. 31 Republicans filed challenge to Tennessee's transgender care ban. More than 30 Republican officials filed an amicus brief with the U.S. Supreme Court opposing Tennessee's ban on transition-related care for minors. The signatories included former Republican members of Congress, argued the state is infringing on parental rights by preventing informed medical decisions. The brief states, quote, states have no business overruling the decisions of fit parents who make an informed medical choice for their children, end quote. The case LW versus Scrimity challenges Tennessee's law amid growing efforts by GOP lawmakers to restrict trans health care in 26 states. Eliane Ross-Letton, I'm screwing up your name, sorry, a former Republican congresswoman and mother of a transgender son, emphasized, quote, parents know what is best for their children, and the government should not stand in the way of well-informed decisions, end quote. The brief also highlights how Tennessee's law violates the Equal Protection Clause, arguing cisgender children can receive similar medical treatments. Missouri State Representative Chris Sander, one of the signatories, said the issue transcends party politics. Quote, it's not a partisan thing to be gay or trans, end quote. Wow. First, I'm pretty shocked that Republicans are actually supporting an amicus brief against a ban on trans. We're typically hearing the story of, you know, Republicans are full support of trans bans. They're actually the ones who lead it in most state legislature. So it's pretty shocking to hear this. I think it's great news in some regard. I'm just still waiting to hear what's the catch here with Republicans supporting the right of minors to and their parents to actually choose whether they can go forward with a surgery like this or not. I do believe personally that it's up to the parents to make that decision. They are, hopefully they would have been well informed about the risks associated with doing any such surgery. So I do believe it's a parent's right to choose in collaboration with their child, you know, whether they have this particular surgery. But I'm pretty shocked that Republicans are supporting any amicus brief against a ban. So it's really weird, actually.
I can understand why a lot of people, even Republicans, do not change their stance on the trans issue until someone close to them out themselves as trans. And for example, and I can never say her name, Ross Layton. She used to represent my district in Miami, and she has a trans child, and so now she of course supports them. I mean, I applaud those people. I applaud that stuff. Unlike certain Cheneys who still go with Republicans, even though her own sister is very gay. But
she regrets.
And
she writes that she regrets.
But the thing about this, I call it the Republican paradox of parental rights. They only like parental rights when it suits them. When conservative parents want to exercise the parental right to ban books, to burn LGBTQ materials in schools, to ban gay teachers, that's parental rights for them to choose. Meanwhile, if the parents wants to let their child go through gender confirming surgery or hormone treatments, suddenly the state has intervened because being trans is bad, and the parents make bad choices. The only choice that Republicans want you to make is the parental choice that they want you to make.
Right, that they support.
Well, I just want to make sure that we know that Ileana Ros-Lehtinen, love you. She doesn't really represent the majority Republican Party. They're mostly against.
No, of course. That's why I'm shocked.
But she's not in office anymore. Right. Like, she's, yesteryear, and she represented 305 really well. And she was one of the few Republicans that actually could find common ground with people and had a beautiful heart. Really, really like her. Didn't know that she had a trans son. So that's awesome too.
Like her even more.
Yeah. I disagree with the quote where she says parents know best, because a lot of times parents don't know best, as many LGBTQ plus kids know. So I think in her case, yes, she probably did know best. I'm personally, for many medical reasons, pretty much in almost all cases against any kind of chemical or surgical treatment for gender affirming care under the age of 18 for many, many reasons, which we can get into at another time. However, her argument is sound when it comes to what the government's role in that is. And I think that's where doctors are involved. It should be between the parent and the medical professionals, because politicians are not medical professionals. And so in those rare cases in which a medical professional is saying this is the right course of action, and the parent agrees, and the child agrees, then they should be able to go ahead with whatever they need. So it is an infringement of the government on not just a parent's right, but just civilians' rights in this
human
country.
rights.
Well, I just want to know, when can the Republicans start turning the page and stop this attack on the trans? It's like, okay, we've heard it.
I don't think they are going to.
People are living, they're moving, there's laws that kind of stand behind them. There's some there that are against them.
When it becomes politically expedient.
Actually, they will back off from the anti-trans rhetoric when and if being anti-trans would somehow become taboo, or for
but
years.
There's other topics that
but to your
talk about.
Right. But to your point, Bobby, like we see 30 plus, Republicans actually sign this amicus brief. I think to your point that when it hits home, that's when it starts to change, right? And look at this particular issue, right? We have 30 of them, and I would somehow, I haven't done the research, but probably all 30 of them have somebody who's trans in their life, and now they all of a sudden have turned the table on whether they support this or not.
So we need to make their kids trans.
Republicans, we crack the code.
And take them like Donald Trump says. One day, see us, Sonny.
That's a story for a little bit later. Meanwhile,
that was good.
Meanwhile, let's queer up politics. Tim Walz slams Republicans at HRC Gala and stands by LGBTQ rights. Minnesota Governor and running mate of presidential candidate Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, delivers a keynote at the Human Rights Campaign's annual gala, where he highlighted his dedication to LGBTQ rights and criticized his GOP opponent, Senator J.D. Vance, for calling school shootings a fact of life. Walz countered, saying, quote, "It's a fact of life. Some people are gay. But you know what's not a fact of life? That our children need to be shot dead in schools," end quote. Walz praised Vice President Kamala Harris for her support of queer rights, calling the Biden-Harris administration the most pro-LGBTQ plus in American history. He commended Harris for officiating some of the first same-sex marriages in California after the 2015 United States Supreme Court ruling. Walz also underscored the importance of enacting red flag laws and banning assault weapons. He noted, quote, "Our kids should be free to go to school without being shot dead in the halls," end quote. In Congress, Walz was an early advocate for same-sex marriage and supported the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. As governor, he signed protections for transgender healthcare and banned conversion therapy, reaffirming Minnesota's commitment to LGBTQ rights. Walz emphasized the importance of fighting for human dignity and equality. He said, quote, "For God's sake, the bar is pretty damn low here to treat people like human beings," end quote.
And so when we got the majority in Minnesota, for the first time in over a decade, we had the governor's office, we had the House, and we had the Senate by one vote. And we got busy. First thing we did is we banned conversion therapy in Minnesota. We protected transgender community and said, in Minnesota, you are seen, heard, loved, and respected, and safe in Minnesota. And we did something a little bit. We banned banning books, especially banning LGBTQ books for themes in that. Think about it in this room. This is what these folks are focusing on, spending all their time. Like reading about two male penguins who love each other is somehow going to turn your children gay, and that's what you should worry about. But here's what I'll tell you. It's a fact of life. Some people are gay. But you know what's not a fact of life? That our children need to be shot dead in schools. That's not a fact of life. Folks are banning books, but they're okay with weapons of war being in our schools. Look, that's not this country. It doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't happen elsewhere. We're going to make sure our children are seen, they bring their authentic selves, and then we're going to make sure they're safe when they get there. So thank you all.
I think that's a brilliant speech. And of course, and it is so refreshing to hear a politician speak without him speaking politician.
Right.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And I mean, I actually really like him as a vice presidential candidate, and I think Kamala made a great choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's like, Uncle Tim, who you would drink a beer with, like he's very much humanized, versus, as you said, like this like politician that's very like mechanic. Yeah. He's very, he has empathy, he has passion. And you can hear it when he's talking about issues like at the HRC about gay rights and the mass shootings that happened. He's really passionate about it, and it's not just a canned speech. It's from passion. And the good thing, not the good thing, but the good thing is that he's been there. He's been in the classroom, right? Like he has these like human regular experiences that we all have had, being teachers and being coaches and mentors, and so he really has humanized the VP role. In our political system here.
And I know that's been beaten to death, but of course Tim Walz was the sponsor for the Gay Straight Alliance at the high school that he worked at, and his wife helped students come out. So and this is not that recent. I mean, it is now a little bit while ago. So he might, I like the effort that he actually commit himself to an ally when allyship was not a huge thing that we now talk about today.
Right.
It's tough. Of course, I love seeing a human being delivering a speech as opposed to a robot or whatever, but I think that a lot of the caring attributes and those human features that we're sort of seeing in all these public appearances will also be held against him tenfold, like from the other side, just because I think that, helping students come out at school is looked at not great, not here at this roundtable, of course, but in the eyes of the people who we need to change their minds or filter their way of thinking a certain way if we don't want them to be voting red. These are things that are comforting to many of us, but are also extremely discomforting to many, 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 many people too. So I adore him in how he has handled his press conference tour per se up to now. But I think that almost highlighting other things outside of the incredible work he's done for equal rights it's time now for that as well. You know, like I understand you are human. Get what else do you got? You know, like, and it's great. You know, but I'm not saying it because I need more, but I feel like they will need more.
Need more.
You know,
I need more personality.
I have a special place in my heart, just to start off, for straight dudes who back in the day were rallying for gay men.
Yes.
And women too, but you know, from my experience, the gay men, because those are the ones that you get made fun of for, like, oh, you like gay? Are you gay? Like, you know, and they're willing to take the barbs and the slings and arrows for their gay friend. So I love that about him. I do agree with you to an extent. The HRC is one of those places where that he's speaking to his audience there, a specific audience where he needs to kind of rile them up a little bit more, you know, on the LGBT issues. All I can really think about is the evolution from Hillary Clinton was the first time, or when Hillary Clinton was running, or maybe Obama. I'll say Obama. So Obama was like one of the first people running that made some inroads with the gays, and it took him till his second administration, because his first administration he would say like, oh, I think it's between a man and a woman, and then his second administration he lit the White House up in a rainbow. So I was like, okay, great. Then Hillary kind of started talking about it. We took a step back, and now in this new presidential race, we see that this topic is so front and center, and to hear somebody like actually speaking so pro-gay, pro-LGBT plus, you know, so I think that evolution, it gives me a little bit of hope of where we are moving, even though we've taken a couple steps back. You know, we're moving back, forth, but we're still moving in that forward direction. So it gives me some hope for the future.
I mean, I agree, but also, you know, to be honest, I mean, our community has now been beaten up as a political football for the last 40 years. It's been as long as I've been alive. I mean, and Anita Bryant was 1970s. I was born just around that time, not telling you when. And you know, ever since then, LGBTQ rights has basically seen as political football. One party Democrats started championing it, but Republicans had that set of beating us.
But you do see the progress, though.
Yeah, we see progress. No, I mean, for example, I just want to remind everyone watching the show that Joe Biden is the first one to embrace gay marriage in the White House before he convinced Obama to do the same. So,
Go ahead.
That's a whole other topic.
That is a whole other topic. I would love to go there, but I do want to go back to them showing Tim Walz as more than just speaking out against the gay rights. To your point, TriniDaddy, is that he was playing to his audience there. They have shown the other sides of him, right? They have talked about what he's done in schools with food and stuff like that, and helping people with food insecurity. They've talked about the economy in Minnesota. They've talked about it being a happy state. They've talked about also trying to appeal to the other side and connecting them to the NRA and the fact that he is a gun carrying member, right? So they have tried to connect them to various audiences. I think that, the campaign knows that, it's really critical in this election to coalesce our community. They know that they need our support. They absolutely.
Do you think it's pandering, though?
No, I don't think it's pandering. I think that they know that they need our support and that they are going to play to his assets. And that's what you do in political campaigns, right? You play to your base and you play to those who you need their support, right? And I think that he's not being disingenuous. These are real. This is real. This is a man, as we talked about. He's showing compassion.
Yeah.
It's being disingenuous if he was on the other side saying, like Melania Trump hosting the log cabin Republicans so that Trump could appeal to gay conservatives. To me, that's bullshit, right? Trump could care less about our community, but they pandered, right? I don't think the left is pandering. They're just they're playing up their assets. Their assets is that they support equal rights, right? They support the gay community, right? They supported us for a long time. We are where we are because of the Democratic Party, right? For our community. So I think that they're just playing into their assets and part of it's their base. And they know that the gay community is part of their base.
November's around the corner.
Well, maybe one little other observation.
To vote.
One little other observation is that, vice presidents really don't get much attention. I think he's getting a lot more attention because Kamala, is not the most popular. She probably would not have won a primary to be where she is. That's just my personal opinion. But when she needs to be a little bit more likable and to appeal to a different base, she's like, Tim, you got this one? Tim, come over here. And I think he's a great guy for that.
I feel like she needs him for the male vote and that male backing that everyone wants behind her.
He's the nice uncle.
Personality.
Well, he's the nice uncle, like I said. Absolutely. No, I mean, let's be real. I mean, like, I think she's an unknown, right? And I think all the polls are still saying that, different audiences and different demographics, that they still don't know a lot about her, though she was vice president for 3. I mean, that's all the polls, right? Polls are snapshots of time. It is, people who are answering questions. So people are saying, based on all the polls, that they're still trying to get to know her. And that's one of the things that when you hear political commentators about tonight's debate, right, is that what they talk about is the fact that she still has to reintroduce herself. And I mean, part of that I think is kind of crappy because she did that during the DNC, but that's what all the political commentators are saying based on the polls. I think that, I think that she's still an unknown. I think in a lot of households, she really is.
They're going to make her jump through hoops and hurdles because she's a woman.
And I think, let's be real, she's a woman, she's black, right?
Woman.
Like, let's be freaking real. If she was somebody else, would she have to go through this? Likely fucking not,
And also I want to point out that in the American political system, the vice president is one of the most peculiar positions that you can get. For one thing, the only qualification is to be alive.
Right.
Because you are literally the president in waiting. You don't have a policy portfolio. You're not a member. I mean, you are a member of the cabinet, but you don't have a department to run.
Constitutionally, you don't have any real authority.
Exactly.
Other than to fill in for the president,
Earlier in American history, the vice president is not there most of the time.
No.
They don't need to. All you need, the only job they need to do is to step up if the big guy died.
Right. But to your point, actually, I think that if we look historically at the presidency, it was Dick Cheney who allowed the vice presidency role to really have a lot of power, actually. He is the vice president who wields so much power. And after that, actually, and I think a lot of people are saying that the vice presidency doesn't get a lot of attention. Post Cheney, the vice president has actually gotten a lot of attention. I think that's a big misnomer, because Cheney actually wielded all the power and Bush actually just followed him. And then after that, when we think about vice presidents after, Biden wielded a lot of power. Obama gave him a platform, and so vice presidents have emerged since Cheney with a lot of power, and they actually matter. Although people say that they don't matter, I think they matter significantly. To your point about Tim, Kamala is sort of deploying him where she needs him, right? He matters then, right? He matters if she's deploying him where she needs him, right? He wouldn't matter if he didn't matter, she wouldn't be deploying him, right? She would just be out there.
Well, we can't wait for the debate tonight.
Oh, God.
I was going to say, I'm going to put a bookend on.
That's right. Let's go. Next, let us explore the mysteries of Machu Picchu. Journey through Peru and explore Machu Picchu's ancient history with nonprofit HOTspots Happening Out Travel Club. This immersive adventure will take you from the bustling streets of Lima to the high-altitude wonders of Cusco, the sacred valley, and the breathtaking ruins of Machu Picchu. Enjoy expertly guided tours, first-class accommodation, and stunning train rides. This is your chance to experience Peru like never before while supporting the nonprofit mission of the club.
Next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral's Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m.
We finish tonight's queer news headlines with this segment we call LGBTQ+ 1 Minute News.
LGBTQ 1 Minute News lets queer up entertainment. SNL alumni Sasheer Zamata brings queer magic to Agatha all along. Sasheer Zamata, known for SNL, is set to star in Disney Plus's Agatha All Along, bringing a fresh take on LGBTQ representation in the Marvel Universe. Portraying Jennifer Kale, a sorceress connected to Doctor Strange and Ghost Rider, Zamata sees witches as metaphors and marginalized communities. Zamata is enthusiastic about the diversity in the show, highlighting the portrayal of different races, ages, and love types. She believes the series will resonate with queer audiences, tying the concept of witches to themes of otherness. Marvel has steadily included LGBTQ narratives as seen in Loki and The Eternals. With Agatha All Cumming premiering on September 18th, Zamata hopes the show will make a meaningful impact in the queer viewers. It should be noted that Zamata came out of the closet this past weekend, calling herself, quote, a late-in-life lesbian, end quote, and joins out actor Joe Locke and queer icon Patti LuPone.
At the end of WandaVision, Agatha lost her magic.
How long have I been here?
It's the most hated witch on the planet.
Quote unquote evil.
Has to recruit a ragtag group of witches to open the door to this road and go set out on this adventure. Because that's the only way I get my power back.
What witch in her right mind would join Agatha Harkness's coven?
The one and only Patti LuPone.
Lilia Calderu, divination.
I have flashes of sight, of vision. She's kind of batty all over the place.
Alice Wu Gulliver, we need a protection witch to join us on the Witch's Road.
She's getting in touch with her power that's been lying dormant for a long time.
What do you say?
What?
Jennifer Kale, potions.
You look amazing.
I know.
Her magic comes from chemistry and alchemy. Jennifer's really sarcastic.
How are you?
Awful.
Definite love-hate relationship.
Gang's all here. Wait, where's our green witch?
Oh, I know who it is.
A party? I'm gonna grab my purse.
Looks like you've got your coven.
What a team of rejects. What's up? I'm Rio.
What's up? Hey.
They just think I'm some kind of badass.
Do I hate her or do I want her phone number?
It's a real delightful group.
They're just really freaking weird people.
What's not to love?
I never doubted us for a second.
Love, love, love the diversity. Love the actors that's going to be in it. It looks like it's going to be a great show.
I think it's perfect because all the girls that I knew in the 90s that liked that movie, The Craft, where are they now? Lesbian.
Yeah, apparently I have a WandaVision date. I have to start there and then take on Agatha. So, I mean, that trailer had me hooked. Let's go. Ready. Grab the popcorn, honey.
LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up entertainment. Queer icon Alan Cumming steals Best Host Emmy from RuPaul. Scottish actor Alan Cumming won the 2024 Primetime Emmy for Outstanding Host for a reality program on September 7th, dethroning RuPaul, who had won 8 consecutive years. Known for hosting The Traitors, Cumming's recent career shift from acting to reality show host has been met with praise, especially after the massive success of The Traitors Season 2. RuPaul, the iconic host of RuPaul's Drag Race, had held the title since 2016. Although RuPaul's streak has ended, both stars remain beloved LGBTQ figures, celebrated for their humor, talent, and lasting influence. Well, I like an underdog. You know, I love RuPaul. He's great. I don't know much about Alan Cummings, but this one over here has told me that he does fantastic on The Traitors. So there's room under our tent for Emmys. You know, you get an Emmy, you get an Emmy.
Yeah, I mean, Alan Cumming is a major Broadway star. He's been around for a long time. You know, I would say this is probably not a career shift. It's probably just another branch on his very large tree. You know, I don't think that he's putting Broadway and film behind, because that's really where he shines. But yeah.
But also, Emmy has a bad habit of repeating the same winner over and over and over. Yeah, gotcha. Over and over and over and over and over again. I think ER won like best drama a gazillion years in a row. Like to the point, it's nice to have some competition.
Well, diversity.
And no offense to Ru, but you know,
it was time.
I can see, you know, more queer icons to you know, battle for the crown.
Yeah. LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News. Let's queer up lesbian culture. Australian lesbian group wants to ban bisexual and transgender women. A lesbian group in Australia is appealing a 2023 ruling that denied their bid to exclude bisexual and transgender women from public events. The lesbian action group linked to the Anti-Trans LGBT Alliance Australia sought an exemption from anti-discrimination laws, but was denied by the Australian Human Rights Commission. The AHRC rejected the request, citing concerns of discrimination. LAG claims young lesbians lack dedicated community spaces. The appeal seeks to create exclusive lesbian-only events. Well, fuck you, LAG. I mean, what the heck? I mean, why? Sometimes the hate just like comes from your own community, and I will never understand that. I really won't.
And this is like, you know, they also want to exclude bisexual women.
Right.
Which is like, okay, I mean, the turfs, like, I know if you like loves J.K. Rowling, you just hate transgender people. But you know, what's with the ban on bisexual women either? Like, if that's the case, then half of our gay community will be divided in half, because a lot of us have previously dated or even had sexual intercourse with women. So that's basically essentially random, arbitrary gatekeeping.
It goes back to what you said about being with someone straight. It's like how lesbians, like, I don't want to be with the bi girl because they're not going to really like do anything. They're just going to be bi for a second and then go on their way. So yeah, but back in the other story, we went back to
right. So I actually will. Okay. Don't hate me on this, right? So I don't think anybody should be banned from a space, right?
Right.
But I do think that in our community with so many acronyms and everybody wants to feel special, I hate the acronyms. Like, I hate that we have 24 different or 50 or however many boxes that we put ourselves in, because, you know, I'm a gay from back into the 80s, 90s time where I felt that there was more community between the LGBTQ folks without ever saying which box that we were in. We're like, we just knew we were not kind of hated by the straights, and there was a little bit more getting along with each other. And now I feel like, you know, we have one gay man who's white, one who's black. It's like, well, you don't understand my experience, and you don't understand my experience. Don't want to get into that too much, but to speak to the idea that if you do believe that there are all these boxes and people do want their space and they do want to be able to talk about things that they have in common with each other, I do think that there can be some spaces where, you know, trans say, you know what, we want our own space. But then you have some heterosexuals that are talking about, like, I don't know, raising children when they're heterosexual relationships. And, like, you know, in that category, that discussion, maybe a trans person's experience is not going to be really relevant to what they're talking about. So I'm okay with spaces being a little bit more voluntarily separated and, like, just respecting that people have different experiences and wanting to kind of, you know, not have their conversations derailed in ways that is not really relevant to them.
I think a point of this is about, the bigger point is about discriminating, right? Discriminating against people within your same group. And I think the challenge becomes is that a transgendered female is a female, right? And so you're essentially discriminating against your own kind, right? Like I see if I have transgender people who are in Pride Lines daily, and I don't think of them as a transgender female, I think of them as a female. Transgender is just because they were born one way, but they've always been another way. And so that's just, I don't even think about the trans part. I think that they are a female. And so to ban them from a lesbian group, you know, suppose that transgender female like females, right? Like, why should they be banned? I don't see the logic in that, right? They are female. They're technically female, right?
Well, I think so maybe the counter argument to that.
More than technically.
They are, right?
Well, I think the counter argument to it is to say that, say, like a cisgendered female who is a lesbian might feel like, all right, I kind of want to connect with some people who grew up in the same way that I did, which was I grew up as a woman, being socialized as a woman in society with all the same limitations that I was given.
But bisexual umbrella as well?
I'm not saying that they should be banned. I'm just saying that the experiences are a little bit different in ways that they may want to explore, and that.
But given our society, what's to say that a transgender woman didn't grow up with those same experiences?
I have a question.
They definitely didn't.
I have a question for you super quick. I have a question for you super quick, then we're going to get back to it. Do you believe that post-op fully realized over the age of 18, like you spoke about, trans women, who I also believe are just women, should be competing in the Olympics with women who...
Oh, we going into trans sports.
No, well, I would like...
a whole different thing.
It's not, actually. It's just trans people. So I'm just trying to feel like what is different between a sport and an event for you.
There's a lot, and I feel like I don't want... Like, it's going to be another, 10 minutes.
No, but I want to know why that is different than this, because it's very much the same parallel. Do you know what I'm saying?
No.
You don't?
No. I think that they're very different things. When you're talking about competing and you're talking about scholarships and you're talking about fair competition, I think that's quite a bit different from just people talking about their experiences.
But it's discrimination. It's discrimination. It's not different.
So I think we should come here next week and debate this topic further.
Yeah, we will.
So let's move on to LGBTQ+, 1 minute news. Let's queer up students and youth culture. Donald Trump once again claims that kids are getting gender surgery at school.
Can you imagine you're a parent and your son leaves the house and you say, Jimmy, I love you so much. Go have a good day in school. And your son comes back with a brutal operation. Can you even imagine this? What the hell is wrong with our country?
No. At a recent rally in Moisani, Wisconsin, Donald Trump falsely claimed children are receiving gender-affirming surgeries at schools without parental consent. He said, quote, can you imagine you're a parent and your son leaves the house and you say, Jimmy, I love you so much. Go have a good day in school. And your son comes back with a brutal operation, end quote. While he has once again repeated mistruths through his campaign speeches, the truth is that such surgeries for minors are exceedingly rare. Research shows that gender-affirming hormone therapy improves trans youth's mental health significantly. Donald Trump just needs to shut the fuck up on this topic. Excuse my French. Like, you're just spewing hate. You don't even know what you're talking about. And you're just spewing this stuff. You just don't make sense, guys. Shut the hell up.
He just reads the talking points given to him by Elon Musk, the lips of TikTok people, J.K. Rowling, and basically they give him all these alarmist things to speak of, because I bet you he doesn't understand a single line of a trans issue. Hell, put a trans person in front of you, it probably doesn't even know what it is.
Right.
And so, I don't know. I look forward to the debate tonight, only to want to see him beat into the ground by Kamala. So,
I just wish
fingers
there was
crossed.
a teacher that actually would comment on that, because just to get a permission slip to go on a field trip, I taught for 20 plus years, and like what people think, like conservatives think, is going on in the school system when it comes to LGBT, like I've never spoken about my sexuality. I don't know if any teacher who actually, I mean, we're just trying to get them to do homework and trying to get them, like, none of what they think is happening is actually happening.
I know.
It's so ridiculous. And so,
Well, let's
Just trying to get them to learn, right?
Yeah.
Vote. We have to make sure everyone votes.
All right. Next, LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up politics. After transphobic Bud Light debacle, Kid Rock to perform for gay Republicans. Kid Rock, known for anti-LGBTQ views and boycotting Bud Light, will headline a log cabin Republican fundraiser on September 29th in Nashville. The event, featuring guest speakers like Richard Greno and Kimberly Guilfoyle, aims to unite LGBTQ conservatives. Kid Rock's appearance follows his recent support for Trump at the Republican National Convention. Despite his controversial stance, it's unclear what the LGBTQ group hopes to achieve with his involvement. It will be co-hosted by Steve Smith, Tom Sturdivant, and Robert Ritchie. Well, first of all, fuck you, Kid Rock. And second,
we're just going with that.
And second,
three in a row.
Can we just call it what it is? Gay Republicans, and especially people who are active in politics. Okay, some gay people are Republicans. I can respect that, but when you participate in these kind of fundraisers, actively donate and advocate for your own detriment, it's like Jews for Hitler or pigs for bacon.
Right.
Sturgeons for caviar.
I love the analogies.
You know.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you go ahead.
No, I just think it's so weird that he was just shooting up cans over Dylan Mulvaney, and he's like, all right, well, I guess I'll be the entertainment at the gay Republicans. So it shows that it's really about the money. But all I could think about when I heard this story was like, I really hope he gets drunk and starts making out with some dude, and it just gets like all over the news and just shows. Because it's a possibility. I know dudes like that.
I don't think there will be a huge LGBTQ presence in the event in the first place, because to be honest, I don't think log cabin Republicans actually exist. I think it's just a front group propped up by social conservatives to say that, you know, there are people like you that support our Lord and Savior.
We're in a conspiracy, okay? You are not gay.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with Bobby. I mean, I think it's just a farce. And, you know, I think about when you go back to the RNC and, you know, the log cabin Republican, I forget the guy's name, who's the president, he spoke and tweeted something about the Republican agenda. Literally, he got viciously attacked on social media. And I just think it's a farce.
I mean,
the log cabin Republicans are gays who hate themselves. I hate to say it. You hate yourself.
Quizlings. You guys are quizlings, okay? Yeah. Yeah. Anyways,
there's a famous saying is if the price of acceptance is the denial of my existence, I don't want it, and I don't want no part of that shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
And
damn, I cursed again.
Very vulgar episode.
Take it home, Bobby.
All right. That is today's news for the queer community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ evening news show.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform.
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines with no censors. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of HOTspots magazine, happening on Television Network and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Eric Restivo, and on behalf of these LGBTQ reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including TriniDaddy, Corey Billions, Dr. Edward Summers, and Dr. Bobby Huen, we will see you daily at 8 p.m. We remind you, the presidential election is just 55 days away.
Vote.
Stand up for equality, rights, and representation. Make sure you're registered and ready to cast your ballot. Let's make history. Let's vote for a better future.
Good night. Good night.